Okay, so here's a tutorial around the image called Pathway, which is part of my 365 for the year 2022. It starts with a 3 exposure bracket, 2 f-stops in between them. In Lightroom right now I'm going to select these images and then process them in Aurora HDR for an HDR treatment. So now in Aurora HDR I'm going to select this. This is the standard image, so use that for creating the HDR. At this point in the presets that are available in Aurora HDR, I'm going to choose Warm Landscape as a starting point. And now I'm back in Lightroom, and this is the HDR version, which was created in Aurora HDR. I'm going to open this in Photoshop. Okay, now this image is open in Photoshop. I'm going to duplicate the background layer in Photoshop, Command-J. I'm working on a Mac. Now I'm going to use my marquee tool to make a quick rough selection of the tree. Actually, no, I'm going to use the object selection tool to do this. And what this does is selects the tree, and on this layer I'm going to create a layer mask from this. It's non-destructive, so if I need to change what's visible and not visible of the tree, then I can do that by adjusting the mask. If I press the Option key, I can see the mask, and if I need to go in there and adjust it, I can do so. Coming back to the background layer, I'm going to duplicate that. Command-J. I'm going to turn off the top layer, which is really the tree, and now use the layer beneath it. Use the marquee tool to make a selection of the left side, and now copy that twice. And the top layer, I'm going to choose Transform Flip Horizontal. What this gives me, using the Move tool and pressing the Shift key, allows me, I'm going to turn this top one on so I can see where this background is falling in reference to the tree trunk. And then coming back to the original one, I need to try to find a place where it looks symmetrical, and for that I'm checking this tree here against this tree here, see where it falls, somewhere in there. Come back to this one, bring it in a little bit. Again, I'm pressing the Shift key so it constrains it. Okay, great, and that gives us the base for working in Photoshop with this image. Okay, next I'm going to turn off the top layer and create a work in progress layer from what's visible. So selecting the layer, this top layer here that's still visible, there's obviously the layer above it. Shift Option Command E to create a work in progress layer. Now everything beneath this layer is not visible. But now it gives me an opportunity, I can turn this back on again, to make adjustments to the background without affecting the tree, and vice versa. So the first thing I want to do here with this background is I want to make it a little bit darker. So for this I use these are the TK Actions tools. These are available by Tony Kuiper. I'm going to put a link down in the description below as to how to get this. This is for luminance masking. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the shadow side. Let's pick this one, and now I'm going to choose a burn tool. I'll bring this down underneath the tree. Actually, that was my mistake. I should have done this without the top part on. So let's go back, choose this, and then choose the burn tool. What this does is it creates an empty layer with soft light blend mode. This is luminance masking, so it's going to use the mask that's created from the image itself to selectively allow me to selectively choose where the effect is going to be. Now I'm going to make my brush larger. I have a flow of 1%, so it's very, very subtle. And what I'm doing here is I'm darkening the background without affecting the tree. And of course, because it's a luminance mask, I don't have to worry about it. The image is self-masking, so I don't have to worry about the image not, pardon the sound of my mouse, I know that it's loud. Okay, and if I turn off the layer mask here and change the blend mode of this to normal, I can see here that I can make that a little bit darker in places. The low flow gives me a lot more control, but let's turn this back on and change the blend mode of this layer to soft light again. And there, before and after, and I've darkened the background without affecting the tree. So here is the tree. What I want to do next is I'm going to create an empty layer and use this for extending or cloning the trail, because I want the trail to work with this wrapping around the tree. So I'm going to take my clone stamp tool, and just clone part of this path over here, just very quickly dabbing around. Use the healing brush afterwards to, if there are any repetitive patterns that happen because of the way the clone stamp tool works. That's not too bad. Okay, so bringing that there and then coming over here on the other side. Just want to extend that trail, or sorry, the trail down to where that wrapping is. Okay, so there we go. Now there's some patterns there, so I'm going to come in here to the healing brush, spot healing brush, and just use this to clean up those repetitive patterns so it doesn't look so photoshopped. Okay, so now I've got the trail in there the way I want it to go. So next, what I want to do is to come up here and non-destructively, I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer. Again, I'm beneath the tree. So if I bring this down so I can see the curve and bring this up, but now to Command I, I'm selecting the layer mask here on the curves, and then I invert it, so Command I, and now when I come in here with the brush, I'll bring my flow up to 2%, and I'm going to paint with white in the layer mask, making sure I'm selecting the layer mask, coming in here and just making that path a little bit brighter. Actually bring this down to 1% flow, because otherwise it's a little bit too aggressive. And bring this up a little bit. Just to make the path a little bit obvious. Here we go. I could, work more with this, but I'm not going to bother at this point. The last thing I'm going to do, though, is come back up here to the TK Actions. Choose the highlight layer. Something in here. Actually, I'm going to use this to finesse this a bit. What I want is, will adjust the mask that I will use for creating the highlights. And now I'm going to choose Dodge And then using my brush again at 1%. Again, the layer mask will mask out. So I can use this to highlight the foreground. The intention here is to make the tree look a bit more three-dimensional by any cylinder. If you pay attention to the way light strikes cylinders, and the tree is a cylinder basically, and I'm going to come down here to the shadow side. Something like this, and now choose burning. So I can now burn the edge. And because the tree is masked, the effect is only going to happen on the edge of the tree. It's not going to happen to the background. So if I combine these two layers, my dodge and burn layer basically, into a group, there's before and after, and the tree takes on more of a three-dimensional shape to it. And then lastly, I'm going to do another highlight layer right here, and then choose dodge again, and use this to highlight the wrapping around the tree. So there we go. So that's, oh, sorry. And then the last thing, of course, is to crop this. Choose a square crop. Bring this out and then adjust it so it's symmetrical. And there's the crop. So that kind of gives you an idea as to how that image was created. Thanks.